Kill me if you want. But you gotta hear me out first. I do really like the Switch 2. Slice is life. Wait, you actually want to? Oh, you actually want to hear me out instead of just instantly attacking me in the comments and basing your entire opinion over the video's title? Because I know some of you have done that. I can read the comments. I've read your comments. I know some of you have done that. Really? Nothing? No overreaction or anything? You know what? Let's get this started. Alright. You think it's enough? The altercation to the footage so that I won't get stricken? I really goddamn hate getting strucken now. It's not here. Let me, okay, that's probably good enough. So, Switch 2, let's get back to it. People don't like it, and said they would protest the price. You know, protest the price and send a message to Nintendo that they won't accept these outrageous, you know, amounts. But everyone, including myself, bought one anyways. Basically, everyone is either on the side of fuck Nintendo or the Switch 2 is the greatest console of all time. But both sides are either radically left or radically right. I want to kind of be in the middle here though. Let's talk about the good and the bad. Okay, so for those who haven't seen the current, as of July, argument, there's 6 main issues that the Switch 2 has. Drift, battery, the controllers, the price, the Wii U comparison, and console bans. Okay, let's start talking about the Switch 2 now. So, wait, hold up. Damn, this music's fire. Hold up, yeah. You know, sorry, that music was just so good. You know, just really distracting. But let's go more in depth on those problems I just mentioned. First, let's get some actual gameplay in here so I can, you know, 100% avoid copyright. Because we're starting with, well, Drift, let's get some Mario Kart World gameplay. I'm hilarious, I know. Oh my god, that transition. I'm just saying, I love that transition I made. I'm gonna use it so much. Okay, so stick drift. It's that problem that everyone who had a Switch 1 has dealt with. I've never had it on my Xbox, so I don't know if it's common on consoles. Stick drift is when you aren't touching your controller and it starts to like that way, you know what I mean? Now, I did get stick drift on my old Switch 1 controllers, and I can see the issue with it. This shit sucks. Can you fix it? Well, we know that this shit doesn't really do anything. Nintendo does offer to fix it for free, but you have to ship your controllers to them. I still would rather not have to ship my controllers for however long it takes to, you know, get them back. You could try and fix it yourself or buy new ones for $100. Now, the main conversation about the drift is, why didn't Nintendo just use Hall effect sensors? Because those controllers never really get drift. Now, the thing is Hall effect sensors are mostly in every modern day controller, like, you know, the Xbox and PS5. Probably Nintendo didn't want to use them because they wanted to get money from lazy people who didn't want to file, then ship, then wait for their controllers. But the real reason is actually because of the magnets in the controllers that make them connect to the Switch. So physically, they actually can't enact them. It would make the drift worse because of the magnets. And if I'm going to be totally honest about drift, is yes, it sucks. However, Mario Party is just not that intense. I don't think stick drift's that big of a problem. I do think that these controllers are definitely, you know, better. So let's hope I don't get stick drift and I can stay by my opinion. Now let's move on to the batteries. Finally, and those the 4 minutes. 4 minutes already? Jesus Christ! It's supposed to be like a quick video, not another 30-minute video. This Switch does not need this long. No one's interested for that long. Do you mind if I cut some stuff? You don't really speak a lot. I don't know your... No, I'll just remove the fight scene and like a couple jokes, whatever. I'll just shave some stuff off. Okay, so back to those sweet, succulent batteries. The Switch 2 has this issue where the console will drain its battery super fast. Ha! I bet you thought your AirPods died. I bet, unless you're on PC, then, but it wouldn't die. So the weird thing is that it's a problem that only affects information. It's not like the Switch will actually die after an hour of playing, or after putting your Switch away for an hour. You know what? Sorry, I just want to stop us right here. I'm frankly getting bored of this Mario Kart gameplay because it's not even mine. I didn't even record it, by the way. I'm gonna put on some different gameplay. I'm gonna put on, you know what? I'm gonna put on Metal Gear, and I'm playing it on the Switch too, so it's still valid, okay? I don't care. And I'm so sorry for anyone who's actually watching the video. I'm really bad. So, you know, that's gonna be fun for you guys to watch. Anyways, when I started writing this, I hopped on my Switch 2 for the first time in 2 days. It had been charged to 100% the last time I was on it. When I turned it on, it was at 17%. I know that batteries can slowly lose charge after a bit, but 83% lost in 2 days? It's entirely a coding issue in the Switch, not a physical issue with the actual battery. But to be fair with this issue, if someone at Nintendo makes a mistake like this, what else could they have messed up? But let's move on to the controller magnets. The Switch 1 had these sliding controllers that made that sound, and the Switch 2 is better because it makes a sound. And the Switch 2 feels more comfortable. It's really just, you know, fun to just... Sorry. The main problem with the controllers that people talk about is mainly because the controllers look like they can just snap off. And I thought the same thing too when the Switch's trailer was revealed. But this one is really easy to answer. They won't. They won't snap. Now on to the price. Look, this is the biggest problem, and I want to save this for later because it's, you know, the biggest problem. It involves Nintendo being scummy and technically politics. I don't want to do that. I will say before I move on that $500 for a Switch 2 is brutal, especially when compared to the PS5. A console that's been out for 5 years and that performs better, has cheaper accessories, and is the same price or even $50 cheaper. Not only the controllers are cheaper, but I gotta stop swearing, okay? I gotta stop swearing, I'm sorry. The poopin' charging stand is cheaper. Like, what the butt, dude? I'm saving it for later, okay? Let's move on. The Wii U comparison. I don't know why people dissed on the Wii U, but I liked it. Nintendo World was a really fun game, but whatever, yeah. So people were comparing the Switch 2's release to the Wii U's release. The Wii U at the time of 2012, nah, that can't be right. Dude, nah. I'm old, man. The Wii U performed worse than the PS4 and the Xbox One that released a year later. The Wii U never felt like an upgrade to the Wii, it was more like an overpriced DLC. The UI was slow, the tablet was low quality. At the time, if you already had a Wii or didn't have any console, buying an Xbox or a PlayStation was just a better idea. It was only about $100 more, and the games were just way better. And frankly, the marketing of the console war between Microsoft and Sony made it way more enticing to choose a side, to buy one. There actually aren't too many similarities with the Wii U and the Switch. Maybe the amount of shovelware games and the competition, arguably, but the Steam Deck isn't nearly as popular as the Switch 2, and the marketing of the Switch 2 was basically everywhere. The whole internet with the Switch 2 hate debacle was just free advertising for Nintendo. The catalog of games that the Switch 2 has is also just superior in every way. Bonanza and Mario Kart World was just a sign for instant success. And honestly, the only reason I liked the Wii U was because my friend owned one. I didn't own one. Of course not. I had an Xbox. Console bans. Now, these console bans are pretty crazy, I won't lie. The fact that companies can just invade your console and ban you from purchasing games in their electronic shop and stop you from playing anything online ever again is nuts. Like, imagine if you got a VAC ban for cheating on Rust or something. And now you can't buy any games on Steam. And you can't play another online game ever again. Not just competitive games, all online games. Even if it's just like co-op, you can't. You're not allowed. Honestly, it's an absolute violation of privacy. And, you know, if I'm buying something, I feel like I should keep it. Now, of course, you can only get banned from cheating in games, tampering with the system itself, or pirating games. I've played enough GPO, YBA, and Arsenal to hate cheaters. And cheating in multiplayer games is something I completely despise and cannot be ever convinced on. However, pirating games and movies is something that
For legal reasons, this was removed from the untampered original video. A Slice of Hair Entertainment Corporation does not condone the illegal acquiring, otherwise known as pirating, of any products. You wouldn't download a car, would you?
As you know, that's typically how pirating goes. Moving on. Let's stop talking about the Switch 2 complaints. I need to add something personal to this video so that it, you know, means something and it's actually unique. I remember experiencing the insane hype for the biggest Smash Bros.
Over.
And the fun of the platforming and exploration of Mario Odyssey. And the wonder of exploring Breath of the Wild. I never bought an OLED. I had the same raggedy busted Switch 1 from 2017 all the way to 2025. You know, when I finally got my grubby mitts on that Switch 2. My Switch 1 was unable to connect to the dock without a little piece of aluminum holding it in place. And it was like that for, I don't know, I guess I'd say 3 years. I also broke the back of my Mario Kart 8 Deluxe game card. And what's funny is that with this little piece broken, the entire game is unplayable. You cannot play it until you buy it again. So I bought it again digitally because I wasn't going to have that happen again. Sorry, Mom and Dad, if you found out that I wasted money buying the game twice. But this is why I hate owning games physically. But whatever, doesn't matter. Because technically, if the Switch didn't require you to have the card to play every time, then you could just trade games with your friends and have unlimited games. But no bacon. Yeah, if you get that reference, you already know. You already know. Throughout my time with the Switch 1, I thought that everything was pretty damn good. The catalog of games was huge. You just had to sift through the pile of AI garbage. And, you know, it's still there. But let's not talk about that. You know, they're allowed on there because indie devs. Yay, indie devs. Nintendo Online was insanely cheap. You know, for the fact that it only costed $20 a year, it also came with a bunch of old games that you could play as long as you had a subscription. And, you know, the most evident part is the Switch exclusive games. Everyone loved them. No one hated any of them, except maybe Pokemon Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet. But I mean, let's be real, no comment. The Switch 1 still had faults. I don't want to talk about the drift again or the normal boring stuff like the technology, blah, blah. I'm talking about some of the terrible exclusive games because, you know, technically I lied. But I'm talking about the really terrible games. So the, you know, the ones that stood out, like 1-2 Switch. What even was that? Full on scam. I don't know why anyone would get that. Just get Mario Party. But you want to know another scam that they did? And this one's a doozy. This one's my favorite. So you would go out to your Walmart or Best Buy or whatever your store is, and you would grab this box, okay? And, you know, it was about 80 bucks. And then you'd bring it home, you'd open it, you'd open the cardboard box, and there'd be more cardboard. And then you would build it. You would build the cardboard. And it was like Legos, kind of. I actually liked it more than Legos. You know, they're cooler. And you could play some games with it depending on which set you bought. And now that I'm writing this, Labo was actually pretty fun to use. And, you know, I should check my hours. 10 hours? I mean, sure, $80 for only 10 hours of game isn't worth it at all. But, you know, it was kind of neat. If I ignore the fact that Nintendo has the ability to create terrible, weak controllers that will drift extremely easy in order for them to save money, or the fact that their technology is always an entire generation behind, or the fact that they can shut down, you know, your ability to use any online service, the Switch was pretty good. And the Switch 2 is probably going to be even more amazing. Although making a game that beats Breath of the Wild might be pretty hard for Nintendo, Bonanza and World are pretty epic. But other than the games, the Switch 2 is very much an improvement on the old Switch. However, many of the games are still capped at 30 FPS, even though the Switch can handle it. And now that the screen has 120 Hz, the storage of the Switch 2 is also insanely improved. You know, having 256 gigabytes instead of the Switch 1 with 32. The old memory cards that work with the Switch 1 now no longer work with the Switch 2. The Switch 2 now requires a micro SD express, but apparently it's because those old memory cards couldn't handle the load times. Speaking of the load times, they are insanely improved. I mean, you know, it does suck that all the Splatoon servers have no people in it anymore, so there's no reason to, yeah, I mean, it's good for like Smash. And the addition of voice chat is, it's stupid. I'm not gonna lie, it's stupid. No one's using that. It's terrible. Just call on your phone, just use Discord on your phone. Skype is better, man. I don't know. But let's get back to the games before I wrap this video up. Many main titles from the Switch 1 are insanely memorable, like all 4 Pokemon games, the 2 Splatoon games, the 5 Kirby games, and the 2 Mario and Rabbids games. Oh, sorry, the list is longer. The 5 Zelda games, and the 2.5 Mario platformers. Yeah, so Editor Hair here. Yeah, I got those numbers completely wrong, but you know what I'm talking about. You know, a lot of games. There's a lot of games. And Animal Crossing was pretty good too. It's a lot of exclusives. Now let's talk about the PlayStation. The PS5 has a handful of exclusives. And when I say a handful, I lie. I mean that they only have one, Bloodborne. And every day I see that they are learning to emulate Bloodborne on PC. So, I don't know. And of course, the Xbox has 0 exclusives as well. And to defend myself real quick from people assaulting me is, you know, when I say exclusives, I mean entirely on that console. Every single game on the PlayStation is eventually available on PC. Every game that's on Xbox is on PC. And for Nintendo's games, the thing is, you know, with that whole system shutdown and whatnot, it's kind of a little bit more difficult to emulate games from the Switch. So they actually have exclusives. And obviously, they're still both good consoles. The price is better than the Switch 2. But my entire point of bringing up the lack of exclusivity is to say there is only one reason to buy a Switch. This is the MacGuffin. This is the MacGuffin of the video. This is it. I want everyone to listen up, okay? The exclusives, okay? You see this little pink ball, yeah? You can't see them anywhere else. So you gotta buy the new Switch to see them ride that awesome freaking star. Most people's reaction to the complaints about the price is either to get angry at Nintendo or to just tell people to buy a PC. Now, yelling at Nintendo, I understand. But buying a PC isn't cheap, I'll tell you that. So go buy a Steam Deck, it's cheaper. It's still handheld and it has all the Steam games. Well, the Steam Deck still doesn't have the funny little pink guy or the little things. See, the thing about the Switch 2 is that people only buy it for the exclusives. In this day and age, we have better options for handheld gaming. That's the thing I keep seeing people not understand. If Cyberpunk doesn't look good on the Switch, then I'm not gonna buy the freaking Switch. I would buy a PC or an Xbox or a PlayStation, literally anything else to play Cyberpunk. But I'm not playing Cyberpunk on my Switch, am I? I'm hoping that most of the people watching this are at least 13 years old, because the point of the video is that if you are at the age in your life where you are spending your own money on your hobbies, stop acting like gaming isn't expensive. Inflation, tariffs, AAA game companies are hiring larger and larger teams and are requiring more years of production time. The baseline of game prices are set by them, the AAA giants. The baseline has now reached a level to where people are starting to complain. And rightfully so, but unfortunately and technically the price of games isn't the problem, it's the amount of the average disposable income. I've already talked about why the Switch 2 is good, and why people should stop yelling at each other for buying it. Current day gaming is becoming a luxury. Luxury implies expensive and uncommon. Would it be nice if companies like Nvidia and ROG lower their hardware prices so that gaming can be more accessible? Yes. Will they? Probably not. In conclusion, to sum everything up in 40 words and like an intelligent caveman so that everyone can understand. Outrage, incorrect. Switch 2, good console. Nintendo, meh, morals. Gaming, expensive, yes. Reason, economics, not company. Company, help, be nice. Help, unlikely. Nintendo, consistently make good games at least. Okay, I didn't reach 40 words, but I'm getting bored of the bit, and I'm assuming you are too. Look, if you like the Switch, buy it. If you don't like the Switch, don't buy it. If you can't afford a Switch, get a job or get a loan or I don't know. Unfortunately, it's just the world we live in, and companies see us as numbers. I've been a slice of hair. Have a great week. Hold on, what's this? Nintendo just patented the idea for summoning creatures to fight other creatures. And they also raised the OLED price. Okay, never mind. Nintendo sucks. Jesus Christ. Video. Oh my. Now, where's that wall building kit? And that can of paint? I put it here somewhere. You're a real slice of hair fan if you stayed to the end. Or you just, you know, if you watch the video, you're also a real slice of hair fan as well. I'll include you. Yeah, ending thing that I do for my videos. If you're new, welcome. Like and subscribe, that'd be dope. See, look at the subscribe button. It like glows up to get your attention. That's a new thing when you say subscribe. YouTube does that. Anyways, thanks for watching the video. I'm gonna be honest, I hated making this video. I kind of lost the plot while making it. I enjoyed making the animations and whatnot. It's not important. I'm not doing any of these again. The commentary is boring. There's too much research I had to do, too much script writing, too much like actual accuracy. It wasn't really opinion based too much. It was really just telling both sides to shut up. But yeah, so I'm gonna go back to Roblox and then, or just games in general. And yeah, so I've kind of sorted more stuff out, and I'll be able to work better and more consistently from now on, because, you know, it's been a bit since I uploaded. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. So thank you to my members, Helena Che, Sam Johns, Mr. Onigiri Rice, and Cronus Al. Or Cronus AL. You still haven't corrected me. I don't know. Thank you to my goats. And if you want to shill $1 to join my wonderful, beautiful, and epic members, please do. Or don't, whatever. I didn't want more members who are cool and epic anyways. Whatever. Thanks for watching. And I'll keep in touch. Have a great month. Bye-bye.